Now, mention policing in Northern Ireland, and there's another word that normally accompanies it: Patten. It's 10 years since the Independent Commission, headed by the former Conservative Minister Chris Patten, published its report. It became the Bible for radical change in the police, including a new name, a new badge, new structures and a 50% quota for Catholic recruits. It infuriated unionists.
I really do consider it is a very shoddy piece of work. Thank you.
But large amounts of money smoothed the process by encouraging senior officers to retire with lucrative payments. This week, Lord Patten spoke about the report for the first time since its publication. I met him at Westminster and asked him if money, lots of it, had been the vital ingredient.
The money was very important. It wasn't as important as the eventual political commitment of the government. Look, in the early stages, there were one or two ministers, no names, no pactoral, but you know of whom I speak, who thought that they could smart aleck their way around some of the problems that we'd felt we had to take on directly, and the original proposals for implementing our report did dilute things a bit. I and others at the time thought it was better to make that point privately rather than to grandstand about it, and I'm very pleased that under some political pressure the government pretty well went back to our report and implemented it in full. I think that was more important than the money, but it did help that the government were able to ease the way through some of the problems with £50 notes. It's very difficult when you're retiring parts of a public service to ensure that you don't lose the best people who can get jobs elsewhere. And I think that if I was doing the report again, I'd have probably said a little bit more about managing the downsizing process. But that, I suppose, is ultimately always going to be the issue for government.
Are you admitting now, 10 years on, that you got it slightly wrong, at least, that some of the best people left because the offer they received was too good to refuse?
Yes, I think I would say that. And if I was doing the report again, I think I would try to find ways in which the Oversight Commissioner had a role in the downsizing.
Are we talking about Peter Mandelson when you say people who wanted to sort of smart aleck their way around things?
Well, I'm much too charitable to pick a fight with the omnipotent peer of the realm to whom you refer. But I do think that he and one or two others thought that they could find a cleverer way through the thicket of problems than we'd suggested. And maybe it's the case that people aren't always as clever as they think they are.
But what about in the current context then? Does money remain important? The police service is complaining at the moment that it doesn't have enough money. Is reform under threat?
No, I don't think reform is under threat, because I think the most difficult things have been tackled, and I don't think we're going to see a situation again in which the police service itself becomes the heart of political argument, which it had been before, torn apart unfairly because it was right at the centre of the biggest political debate in Northern Ireland. But I do think that if you want frontline services, and there's no more frontline service except the army, I guess, if you want frontline services to do a job very professionally, you can't skimp on it.
There's much talk, of course, about the final piece of the political jigsaw, the devolution of policing and justice. Would you have any fears that devolving that power could perhaps destabilise the current policing arrangements?
No, I wouldn't. I think the politicians themselves, by and large, have demonstrated an understanding of the responsibilities which devolved responsibility would place on their shoulders. And I think the way the new Chief Constable was selected is an example of that. So I've always believed that if you want people to behave more responsibly, then the thing to give them is more responsibility.